So after a big drop with Bitcoin, I want to go ahead and tell you what you should be watching this week because it's actually going to be a big week when it comes to Bitcoin and what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. If you've not yet subscribed, make sure you do that. I'm trying to get these videos out and be helpful because this is a pretty big opportunity, I believe, this year in crypto with both Bitcoin as well as other asset classes because it's a midterm elections. We're post all-time high for Bitcoin. Historically, that has been the high. And recently, we were down 30%. But is this the lows? So let's go ahead. And if you haven't watched the previous video a few days ago, I said this is the buying opportunity. I was very clear about that. And it did hit around 60K. And during that video, I was making a video and it was at 60K. And by the time I was done making the video, it had already wicked up and I had actually bought around 62K right here. So I bought here. I'm still holding my position with Bitcoin. I don't plan to necessarily sell that yet, but there is big reason to understand that we could actually revisit these lows down here at 60K, right? That's not out of the ordinary for Bitcoin to do that, specifically in these types of markets when we have a lot of volatility globally and potentially some big things are going to happen this week. So we'll go ahead and get into that. Now, fear and greed as well has bumped up to around 13. If you don't remember, we were down as low as 5 or 6 on this one. It says specifically 5, which is pretty much some of the lowest or most extreme fear that we've ever had. And so because of that, it was a clear sign, as well as Bitcoin being on the daily chart at record low RSI. So that relative strength was super low. So we knew that there had to be some type of bounce. And so that is just the point to where you have a mean reversion where buyers will step in eventually. And now we're just going sideways. Now, what's the big deal about this week? We do have a lot going on, and there's different tweets and posts that'll actually talk about this. This one's good. Key events for this week. Of course, there's some sales data. There's the January jobs report, which will be a big deal. Federal Chair Powell pivoted a bit from like inflation more to the job market. So again, if the job market is weak, you can expect for the Fed to say, look, we're not looking to cut rates. And overall, that's going to impact your Bitcoin. That's going to impact the stock market overall, because if they continue to push towards not cutting rates, then that's going to potentially have an impact on risk on assets, as we know. Now, also along with the job report and the jobless claims, we're also going to have CPI inflation data. So that is another thing to watch. Is that data going to be high on Friday? So we've got multiple things from Wednesday to Friday that is going to potentially create some volatility in this market. And you have to understand, again, that because of the position that the Federal Reserve is in, because of jobs and because of the CPI print, there is potential volatility. And I'm not saying necessarily this week, but down the road, an opportunity to retest the low. So if you missed this at 60K, I'm not going to really get too worried right now. I think you're going to have another opportunity below 70K again. And that's because if you look at everything that's going on, again, if you look at the stock market, it's at all-time highs still. There has only been around a 5% pullback this year, and this is on the weekly. This is the 20 moving average that it's pulled back there. It's rejected. So I do believe that if you get any type of break below this, there's potential to go down a little bit lower. Again, I do believe because of the potential volatility, we could eventually now see the stock market start to break down. And then, of course, that's going to impact your Bitcoin and crypto right now. So I want to go ahead and show you guys why I'm being patient. And also, too, with the dollar, we've seen that this is the monthly chart, right? This is a really overall a big chart because this goes back all the way from the early 2000s to today. And what you're going to notice on the monthly, this is the monthly chart. So it's really slow. And every time it gets down to this moving average, the 200 moving average on the monthly, at least over the past decade here in 2017, here in 2020 or so, you're going to see that it eventually bounces and just the cyclical nature of that. And I'm not saying that this is going to bounce and go back over 115 or whatever for the dollar, but I'm just saying that you have to expect eventually this year with the midterms, you want the dollar to be strong and you want the economy to look strong. And because of that, we could potentially see that will bounce. And of course, if the dollar bounces, if we're seeing some things such as increase in the yields, that going up as well, then you have to understand that, again, I do believe that the stock market in Bitcoin and crypto is going to take a hit overall because these people are more concerned about a strong economy and a strong dollar. They want to look good, right? And because of that, you have to zoom out and say, look, it's a probability that where we are technically as well at the dollar and where we are as far as midterms goes, that it's going to bounce. And because it's going to bounce and because they're going to focus on that overall and making sure to keep inflation low, that they're not going to necessarily decrease interest rates. And because of that, I think that we could eventually see this all-time high right now in stocks that has yet to dip to pull back more, and that's going to give us another opportunity with Bitcoin as well to reaccumulate over the next few weeks to months. So this is this big picture looking out the next few months. The entire point of this video is to tell you not to worry. If you worry about missing the 60K dip, I would not really fret about it because historically, we tend to break down, then to bounce, and to slowly break down again. And if I go ahead and zoom out here, I did show this to my audience on Twitter and X to show you that I can look back at the previous cycle and say, look, this is typically what tends to happen. And we're really rhyming quite a bit with the previous cycle as Bitcoin has broken down. Then you start to get that accumulation phase. And it's been a little bit faster. So again, maybe this breakdown is not going to be as low or it's not going to take as long as what the previous one did, but I do expect that 2026 can definitely be a time of accumulation, especially you have to understand with stock markets, with yields, with the dollar, that there's probably going to be some chop and volatility with the midterms. So I'm not going to be one to hurry outside of thinking longer term when I believe that 2027, 2028 is going to be a big year again for different markets, especially I think with crypto and Bitcoin, that there's going to be a real opportunity to buy in this blue box here over the next few months. Even though I get in at 60K, as far as trading that, I'm going to potentially take some profit if we do go higher. How high can we go? I believe that, again, I have to see a break in the structure to show strength overall. And I think that if you're getting well above 90K again, then that's one thing. But I think because of where we're at, again, with midterms, with stocks, with yields and inflation data and jobs, I believe that we're probably going to reject probably in the 80Ks if we were to get that high anyway. Now, long term, if I go ahead and show you an area that you want to watch, is again around the 75K level, which acted as resistance and then acted as support over the past few years. And I think that on a bigger chart, if Bitcoin can show strength there, hold that, I do believe that it's going to move up into the mid to upper 80Ks for a retest. But I don't believe that we're going to get higher highs in any way. I think if anything, this is just a breakdown and then it's another lower high. So again, lower high meaning we hit 125, 126, we hit 98, and I think, again, you're going to hit maybe around 85 to 90K, potentially wick up above 90K to get people maybe some FOMO in, but I think that that's just kind of what we could potentially see over the course of the next few months to weeks, right? So I'm not really in a hurry right now. I do believe that because of everything I talked about on today's video, that this could actually hit a lower high, break back down, retest, potentially sweep this level, some sideways and chop, and then going later in the year, slowly moving up again as it always does. If you want me to go ahead and zoom out, if you want to go ahead and look at this area, you have a run up sideways and then a run up again during a bull market. Breakdown, again, you have a run up sideways And then again, a couple of years out from the all-time high, we have a massive run up. I would expect if the all-time high, which it was the cycle high, was back in October of 2025, I believe we're going to have the same pattern. And if anything, it's going to take until 2027 to really start to see some gains there. So I think 2026, buying opportunity for Bitcoin, in everything that I talked about, what to watch this week from the jobless report. Again, if those come out really good and there's a lot of jobs, you have to expect that they're not going to cut rates, and that could shake up the market, especially with any type of high CPI or inflation, that data that comes out on Friday. So that's what you want to watch, those specific things. And if you watch those things, just be aware that we're going to have some volatility, and there is real potential to see some strength in the dollar later on in the year. Again, people get out of these risk assets, and as far as that goes, taking profit. Now, there are opportunities out there, and I'm not going to get into this much longer. Microsoft dipped to its 200 moving average on the weekly. Every time it's done this, if we want to go ahead and take a look at that, basically it's been a buy. So that happened back in 22. This happened again back in April of 25, and of course has pulled back down. A lot of people are afraid right now because the reason this dumped so bad is because AI and because of Microsoft has some real competition. Yeah, is this a buying opportunity? I think anytime it gets in this area, you saw buyers step in, and there's real potential, I think, for this to be a pretty good dip. Now, again, if stocks do break down even more, if we see that in the next few months, there's a real possibility that Microsoft bounces right here and goes a little bit lower. There's a real opportunity that, or just chops back and forth. But I do think if you're looking to buy any type of assets as a long-term investor, I think that this could potentially do well with where it's at. The risk reward, you're not going to want to buy at all-time highs. A lot of people chase things at all-time highs, whether it's Bitcoin or Microsoft. You want to buy on these big dips. You want to buy when it's hitting these multi-week moving averages. And that's just something to look out for. But right now, this is one of the only things that I was interested in buying a little of for long term, and just see how it goes. And of course, things can change if the market totally nukes, gets out of hand this week, next week. I think that this goes lower and then can't hold this bounce right here, then certainly I'll cut that when it comes to this specifically. But I know a lot of you are here to look at Bitcoin, to look at crypto and know about that, but just understand that you are going to make the most money if you can not only get in Bitcoin and crypto, but if you can diversify in other assets as well. So, I'm going to talk about some other stuff as well. And as videos go, I'll talk maybe more about trading, beginning trading, things you need to watch at, and really help some people do that. Because if you're going to survive in a bear market and a down market, you have to know some of this stuff, and it's stuff that I want to cover. With that said, you guys stay encouraged. It's a big week ahead. Again, jobless data, CPI coming up. And as far as that goes too, I drew a lot on this chart right here as far as it goes with Bitcoin, but just understand that we needed that bounce. Real potential for this to go higher. I wanted to see it break 75, but I'm probably going to look at it being a lower high unless this can prove me wrong. Taking profits here, and I can always buy back and buy more if for any reason it changes. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. We'll continue to do these market updates each and every week as the market changes. A lot of new stuff is coming in, and seeing are there opportunities out there along with Bitcoin to make long-term in order to continue to move up as far as our portfolios go, make some profits, right? Make some money, and be off better for us and our families in the future. All right, guys, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.